What's up, guys? Anthony, come back and share another video. Guys, it's been a long time, really has, since my last video. A couple weeks, long time since my last mail day, and you'll have to keep a little waiting because this is not a mail day. Would like to get to one soon, just gotta wait till I'm home again. Still at school. I will be going home this weekend, but unfortunately just for Easter. I have family coming over and then right back to school. Just been really busy between classes and student teaching, and I just haven't really had the time to go home. I know I have time to make videos, but I don't have time to drive 45 minutes to my house, do the video, just to do a video and then come back. So that's really where I'm at right now. If you're on the Facebook group, I did post a picture earlier of the mail that I do have backing up. So, because I haven't done a mail day since January, sometime in January, I was looking back at old videos. So it has been some time. Other than that, other updates, can't really think of much. End of semester is slowly closing upon me. Looking at a little bit, little more than a month left in the semester. So once the semester's over, I'm back at home. Obviously, videos will become more frequent than they have been. Excuse me. But today, I have a video response for Mr. Russo. He wants you to talk about a video about a lineup or starting team for your favorite team of all time. And hopefully somebody else, hopefully there's some soccer fans on here, because I'm going to be talking about soccer. As you guys know, soccer is my #1 sport, and I'm a diehard Arsenal fan. So obviously I want to talk about Arsenal. So I picked a starting 11. In soccer, you have 11 players on the pitch at a time for one team. So I chose the formation. I got a 2-4-4, basically, or a 4-4-2, excuse me, which basically means you have 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, and 2 forwards, which is a very common English formation. So first off, in goal, I have David Seaman. This was a toss-up for me between him and Jens Lehmann. I chose David Seaman just because he had the more experience, and he didn't have as built of a team around him as Jens Lehmann did. Jens Lehmann replaced David Seaman when David Seaman left on a free transfer to Manchester City, back when they were a terrible team, so it really didn't matter. They had just gotten out of relegation. He was getting up there in age, and we needed a younger replacement. Then we got Jens Lehmann from Borussia Dortmund. But yeah, he had less of a team built around him, and he brought great things to Arsenal in the late 90s. So moving on to our defenders, left back. This was a huge decision for me because I chose Kieran Gibbs, which is our current left back. Arsenal have a left back that is much better than Kieran Gibbs in their history, by the name of Ashley Cole, but I refuse to have Ashley Cole in my starting 11 because it needs to be greatest of all time, and what he did pretty much tarnished his Arsenal legacy. Basically, after we had had an undefeated season in 2003-2004, won the FA Cup in 2005. At the time, we were the team in England. It was between us and Manchester United, and we beat Manchester United in the FA Cup in 2005. And that following summer, Ashley Cole had left for Chelsea. But it's not only that he left for a rival. There was also so much more to that. He grew up in the Arsenal Academy. He was born in a Gunner family. He was at our club since the age of 8 years old, and he went to Chelsea for money. He went to a club at the time. Chelsea they were good, but not as good as like they are now. They didn't have as built of a team. They were below us. We were the better team. He went there strictly for money. He wanted, because we offered him a contract, and he came out and said, like, oh, that's like garbage, yada, yada, yada. He was under contract, and he went like behind the scenes to talk with Jose Mourinho over at Chelsea. And I hate Jose Mourinho. He's like the main reason why I hate Chelsea. And they agreed terms before Arsene Wenger and Arsenal had even talked about selling Ashley Cole, and we ended up selling him because like everything was basically agreed, and he basically just refused to play for Arsenal. We ended up selling him for literally next to nothing, and at the time he was arguably the best left back in the world. I think we got roughly £6 million in William Gallas, which was nothing compared to what he was worth, and that's why he will not be included in the starting 11. So I chose Kieran Gibbs. He is our current left back. The reason why I chose him is because I think he has a lot of promise. He's shown a lot of stability, great as in left. He also can play left wing, sometimes deployed as a left wing back. Great at attacking. Arsenal style, you will see the left backs and the right backs come up a lot, and then either one of the midfielders, they fall back a little bit depending who's playing. But moving on, center back Tony Adams. There really isn't much to go into other than Tony Adams. If you know soccer, if you know Arsenal, you know Tony Adams is one of the greatest defenders of all time, not just because of what he brought to this club being a captain and winning trophies here, but his loyalty to the club. And he told everybody, he said, "I will never leave Arsenal," and he didn't until he retired. And one of his famous quotes when he came out to the press and said, "I will sign anything that they put in front of me without even reading it," because that's how much faith he showed in this club. And in today's soccer world, in the game that's all about money, there's no such thing as these players anymore. They just don't exist. Every player has a price in today's game. Next player is my other center back, which is Sol Campbell. Another player who I had to include in just because we hate Tottenham. Gotta hate Tottenham. Sol Campbell was a Tottenham player. Sol Campbell was a Tottenham youth project, and he left Tottenham to come to Arsenal. And not only did he leave Tottenham to come to Arsenal, then he turned around and won the double, the FA Cup and the Premier League, and he won the Premier League at Tottenham. It was the last game, not the last game of the season. It was the season that we went undefeated in 2003, 2004. Points-wise, because how the Premier League works is it's based on points. If you win a game, you get 3 points. If you draw, you get 1 point. If you lose, you get 0. And when we beat Tottenham at White Hart Lane, it was mathematically impossible for us to lose. So we won the league at White Hart Lane. And just to show how great of a person he is, when he came to Arsenal, he said he always wanted to win the league at White Hart Lane, so he joined Arsenal. And just absolutely just one of the things that will always piss off Tottenham fans is Sol Campbell has won the double. One of my personal favorite chants. Next up, right back, Bakary Sagna. Won't go into too much detail because it's already at 7 minutes, but Bakary Sagna was a right back for many years, was the best in the league, was closing in at the end of his career and recently joined Manchester City, is now the backup over there, whereas we now have Matteo Debuchy and Hector Bellerin, who have Debuchy's been hurt, Bellerin's been doing so much better, but Bakary Sagna has saved our asses a lot. Next up, going into the two midfielders, for my defensive midfielder, Arsenal does not play very often with defensive midfielders. It's very few and far between. 2005 was the last time we had a true defensive midfielder. Since this year now we got Francis Coquelin, but Patrick Vieira was our captain for a long time. Phenomenal defensive midfielder, and then he left for Juventus, but he will still be going down as a club legend. Went invincible with us, was on the Invincibles. Unbelievable player. The next up is probably the most controversial choice of my team, and that is Mr. Cesc Fabregas. Cesc Fabregas was purchased from Barcelona in 2004, midway through the season in January. As a 16-year-old, he left Arsenal in 2011, but the reason why I chose him was because he was really like my favorite player, because I've been following Arsenal for years, but I really followed Cesc Fabregas his whole career. He was my favorite player, and to see him leave sucked. It really did, but he was our captain, led the Premier League in assists season after season after season, and then he left in 2011 to go back to Barcelona, to go home, and was there for 3 seasons until this summer came along where he wanted to leave. He was a bit part player, and he wanted his starting role again. He was in the prime of his career, and he wanted to come back to Arsenal. He came out in the press conference, he says, "I wanted to go back." I spoke to Wenger. We spoke for an hour, and Wenger says, "We don't need you anymore, unfortunately, and we're going to have to pass." which doesn't make any sense to me because he said, we don't need you, we have Ozil. Ozil's an attacking number 10 where Cesc Fabregas is deep-lying center. Two completely different players. I think not signing Cesc Fabregas back was one of the biggest mistakes of Wenger's career, because now he does play for Chelsea. Out of all teams, that is the last team I would have wanted to see him to go to. I hate Chelsea more than Tottenham just because of Jose Mourinho and what he's done to this club. He's always undermined him, even though Wenger is the better manager. And it's really a kick to the balls for Jose. I know Jose for a fact. He signed Cesc Fabregas just to piss off Wenger. We signed Ozil, and then he said, you know what, you're going to sign my project, I'll sign yours. So, yeah, and now he plays for Chelsea, and he's leading the league in assists. And it kills me. Arsenal haven't played Chelsea at home yet. Chelsea still has to travel to the Emirates, and I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. That's going to be a stressful game for me to watch, to see Fabregas back at the Emirates in a Chelsea jersey. So yeah, that's my two midfielders. Right winger, this was another toss-up for me. I would have gone with Alexis Sanchez because he has absolutely taken this year up by storm. 19 goals for him already in his first season in the Premier League is absolutely insane, and the season's not even over yet. Been probably the signing for the Premier League. It'll probably be the best signing of the year. Hands down, his work ethic is unbelievable. He's working his ass off from the time the game starts to the time till it ends at 100%. But because it is still only his first season, and he's not really, in my opinion, he's not an Arsenal player. You got to solidify yourself in this team. You got to stay for at least 4 years. You have to be a part of this team. I want to see him bring stuff to this club. I hope he stays around. He's still young. But the player I went with is Freddie Ljungberg, another member of the Arsenal Invincibles. Hands down one of the best right wingers. Extremely creative player. Could play as a right wing, could play as a left wing, could play as a number 10. Those through balls, one player I definitely miss. And then complementing him, brain fart, on the left wing is Robert Pires, probably one of my favorite players going up. Once again, just an extremely creative player. Unbelievable runs, dribbling around the other team. Another player I miss. And then two forwards I have playing behind the striker, Mr. Dennis Bergkamp. Arsenal legend, was at Arsenal for over a dozen years. Left in 2006. And just an unbelievable player. I mean, he could score, he could provide goals. He was just that all-around perfect center forward to play behind. The greatest, in my opinion, because you got to look at it in multiple ways. He scores goals, he's creative, he assists goals, he's a team leader. The greatest to play behind the greatest striker of all time in the Premier League, and that is Mr. Thierry Henry. 229 goals for Arsenal in 376 games. Absolutely unbelievable stat. He came back to Arsenal in 2011, and in 2011-2012 I got to see him play once again, where he scored 3 goals in 4 games. We had him on a quick month loan. He officially retired this past summer. Absolutely legendary career. To come to an end. He was also a part of that the Invincible season, constantly scoring 30+ goals a year, and it just sucks when he was a player because there was so much competition. He should have won the Ballon d'Or. If he was in today's game, he would have won the Ballon d'Or, but playing up against players like Zidane, it's kind of hard to, it sucks because he was the greatest player, and just he got snubbed for Ballon d'Or just because of other players there. He came up runner-up over and over again. But yeah, one of the most prolific strikers ever to play the game. I mean, he was that type of player who could turn nothing into the greatest goal. One of the greatest goals you'll ever see. If you have time, I will put a link in the description. Show you, if you don't know soccer, go look at Thierry Henry and you'll see what I'm talking about. I'll link a highlights video in the description. So guys, that is my video response. Please get in the contest. Go check Ricky out if you haven't already. Probably know him because everybody knows him. So guys, thanks for watching.